Good?
Sir.
All right, good morning or good afternoon. I've lost the time. Welcome to the Guilford County UCC meeting, the 700th annual. We're ready to rock and roll. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure everybody's in a good, safe location to take this call. How many do we have online? First, two?
One. Jeff Brown.
All right, make sure you're in a good, safe location, free of any tripping hazards. If you are driving, make sure that we're using hands-free or at least pull over one or the other. That being said, if we do have an emergency in here, we'll muster out front at Parish's 811 vehicle. No, he parked it in the back.
We can still go out front.
We'll go out front away from the building in a good, safe location so we don't have to worry about getting hit by anybody. Make sure everything's safe and sound out there. The best safety share I can come up with today is it's hot. Make sure everybody's drinking plenty of water. Make sure that we're getting plenty of rest time in the cool shade when necessary, making sure we don't have to worry about having a heat stroke or a heat related incident, because once we get that in our system, it makes us more susceptible to it in the future.
No, we still in my thunder, Scott.
Thunder is gone. Thunder is gone. So as far as that goes, Kevin and I are with Piedmont Natural Gas. I'll give you a quick rundown of what we got going on around here. As far as new residential customers and stuff like that, we do still have quite a few neighborhoods going up here in Guilford County. It's slowed down just a little bit, but it's not a huge slowdown like you would imagine. So we're still running pretty hard. I think we were down maybe 20 services last month, but we were up most of the winter time. So even though interest rates are going up, they're still building here. So it's still going to keep going. Hopefully it'll just keep on rolling and we'll keep on putting new gas lines in the ground.
What's your biggest projects in Guilford County right now?
Most of it's a whole bunch of them in Oak Ridge. I can't say there's like the
Oak
biggest
Ridge area?
one. The Oak Ridge area, Summerfield.
4 and 2 inch in subdivisions?
Putting 2-inch in subdivisions, but maybe on the main roads running 4 or even 6-inch up the road to get to these new subdivisions. So we do have a lot of that stuff going in. We do have a few government reload projects going on here, and I don't know if anybody else is a part of that, but we do have Sandy Ridge Road is one of them. We just got through with Lake Jeanette Road. Other than that, we've got a few charters going on, but they're mostly just casings and things like that. So it's a short run under railroad tracks. And if anybody's ever dealt with the railroad, it's a blast. No, you're not with the railroad, are you?
No,
Okay.
we do a lot of work on them.
We gotta watch who I say what to. Let's just make sure we don't get anybody in trouble. But we'll go around the room and everybody.
Well, we are recording this, so we might go back and look at it later.
Are you sending it to the railroad?
I live at 2611 Green Gate Drive. You can come see me that night, right? So anyway, we'll go around the room. Everybody let me know who you are and if you got anything going on. So you want to start?
Yeah, go for it. My name's Christian Butters. I'm with the City of Greensboro DOT. Basically, our big stuff we've got going on is just all the stuff that Duke's got with all the poles. So we're doing all of our transfers and a couple of intersection upgrades. Lake Brant, Lawndale, doing the cutover as we speak on that. And then we got downtown. We got about 5 blocks that's getting rebuilt with on Green Street, going from the 1-way to the 2-way.
So,
Are you doing the fiber? You doing fiber?
Fiber, power.
Okay.
Yep.
now as far as I don't know what Keith Lovins does now. But
He does streetlights.
Does he do street lights?
Yeah,
I know he was our contact with
Yeah.
his projects and stuff. Did you take his place?
No, we're actually kind of working hand in hand to a degree. He pretty much went from the utility side to becoming the streetlights coordinator.
Okay.
And then, so he's kind of separate from DOT itself.
Okay.
But because all that stuff got put in under DOT contracts, so I kind of inherited the physical side of it.
Ah, sounds good.
Yeah.
My name is Lucas Strand. I'm with Hyper Networks. We're starting open fiber in Guilford County.
She's gonna be the project manager of that, so she'll have more information. But yeah, we're excited to start out here.
So Kelly Blackney, Hyper Networks, as Luke said, we currently are not building anything here right now, but we do have one, hopefully two customers that are looking to do some long-term work here in Guilford County and just starting to get ready to submit for permits and things. So we figured it was good to kind of let you know we're coming, get a presence, kind of understand who everybody is. We're looking for some office space here and plan on being a fairly permanent fixture. So
Now, you're gonna be doing any of the surrounding counties?
So we're currently, so we have currently offices in RDU area, Sanford, Charlotte, and Atlanta. So this is, yes, we're planning on kind of here and the immediately surrounding. We try to keep our offices really local in general, but we're mainly underground telecom.
Okay.
Are you gonna have contractors working for you?
We will.
Okay.
We have a model where we do both. So we have some in-house and also some subcontracted labor. Yes, sir.
When you start your project in Guilford, where do you plan on starting at for your fiber?
So I do not even have a high level design yet, but I am being told that it is Greensboro that they're looking as far as township.
But you'll know more next month when we.
I will.
in August.
I
Okay.
absolutely will, since they'd like to start in September, and I'd really like to see a design.
Okay.
So we are, they're really pushing for this to happen quickly, and that's why we figured we'd show up here and meet all you fine gentlemen.
You go.
I thought you were gonna be in Greensboro.
This is planned to be a 2-year project.
2 years?
Mhm.
Well, if you cut in line right there, Scott, oh, no.
No, Scott's not operations anymore.
He knows the
I'll be
man.
like, damn, that sucks, right?
He knows the man.
Scott, it sounds like we have everyone's phone number we're gonna need.
Well, yeah, I probably know, have contact with all of them, but yeah.
Y'all said open fiber, what was that?
Sorry, say that again?
You said open fiber? what
Yes,
was that?
sir.
Yeah. So they're actually rebranding. I think they're actually going to be a different name coming up, which is why I didn't say it. But they are a small company and presence here in North Carolina right now. They're building out Sanford currently, and then kind of expanding from there. They attach to Segra and Zayo, and so there's already a lot of backbone infrastructure. So they're really just building out communities around areas that are already built for Segra and Zayo.
I got you.
Mhm.
So open just means that this.
Yeah, they're just an internet service provider. I mean, I
Okay.
shouldn't say just, but
I
really,
was like,
it's another
trying to
fiber provider.
comprehend when you say open, like
No.
open for anybody to use it, what are we talking?
So they do, the reason for the name is that they do some like municipal, kind of open access broadband type stuff, so like open Wi-Fi, but,
I know.
yeah.
I'm a little slow.
So Kevin, did you have anything?
Oh, yeah, I'm Kevin Sell, by the way. People
I
don't
said
forget.
Kevin
I
Sell.
work
and
with
I said-
Scott
He works for
in,
me.
what our group is distribution construction, so. Any new, underground service lines, main lines, stuff like that, we do that, replacement projects.
All right, well, with that being said, Andy, did you have anything you want to add?
Jeff,
What do you want to know?
Jeff Brown's on, Jeff Brown's online. He's with the DOT.
Oh, yeah.
Maintenance bridge, yep.
Jeff, did you have anything you want to share with us?
I'm just working on getting ready to start McLeansville Road, Monday. We do have fiber out there. It's pretty new. I think it's AT&T. I just called locating in on it yesterday.
Is that gonna have to be moved to redo the bridge?
No, it shouldn't. Usually we can go around it. It's not, it's like 3 foot in the ground. We shouldn't have no issues.
All right, sounds good. Anybody else have anything they want to touch base on before I give this over to Parrish?
Would you like an update on the Underground Damage Prevention Review Board last week?
And you just had the
Absolutely.
MRPC today as well.
We did, okay. Underground Damage Prevention Review Board, we had about 15 cases. Interesting, we had some contractors that made complaints against some members for not responding on time, nor responding to 3-hour tickets. So in the review process is each one of those determines a violation. So we had to look at, one, did they respond to the 3-hour? And then secondly, did they respond to the 3-hour? And in one of the cases, both were not responded to within that time frame. And then the second case was they did not respond to the 3-day, obviously, but then the 3-hour they did respond within that. So there was no violation shown there. But there were fines up to $2,500 on those because there were several, situations there. There were, one of the things I brought up today in LRPC is that under the exemption, and just so you guys are aware, governmental entities are exempted for general maintenance type issues as long as they're the ones doing the work. So it could be DOT, it could be City of Greensboro, City of Statesville. This particular situation was the town of Statesville. They did not have a locate ticket, and there was a complaint made because, and it was actually made by a homeowner, and the complaint was the fact they didn't have a ticket, and they actually hit a gas line. So the bad part is there was true disruption to the neighborhood. Gas line was hit, blah, 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 you get the picture. From the law standpoint is they were exempt because they were replacing some of the sidewalk, which for a city entity is considered general maintenance. Now, I had to reflect on that because, I think about all those utilities there, and to me, I'm like, why did they not? But certainly they did hit a gas line, and it did knock service out, but they were, that violation was dismissed because they were within right of the law for that. So that was a couple items that we saw there. Trying to think what else that we dealt with. We're getting more homeowner complaints against each other, like, one homeowner mad against the other. So we're seeing stuff like that. Otherwise, it went pretty well. There were lots of fines levied because we do have a matrix. If you fall in, say you hit a gas line, that's determined, that's, culpable circumstances, you're automatically going to get a fine. So if you see a riser, you didn't make a locate ticket, you're going to get Pipes Plus training and a $500 fine. So you spread the word there. LRPC today we met, still continue to look at all of the work that's going on around the state, excessive locates in the system for updates. So just trying to remind, these contractors to stop dumping all these tickets into the system, making sure their tickets match what they're asking for, so on and so forth. We provide to them data from update tickets, and Mecklenburg is still leading, Mecklenburg, Wake, Guilford. So when we look at the updates per ticket volume, Mecklenburg, Wake, Guilford, Durham, Alamance, Forsyth, Iredell, Brunswick, Harnett, they all had the highest ratio of updates per tickets. So we're looking at those type reports. We always look at the top 20 of the work that's going on in the state, and then we provide that back to those top utilities, which most of those contractors work for the members. You've got Utility Lines Construction, Piedmont Utility, Diversified, ANSCO, Southeast Connection, MOSTEC, all these people work for the members. So we try to direct all of that stuff back to the utility owners. So that was that one. And then we look at 3 hours, 3-hour ticket. What percentage of the tickets are 3 hours? And so one of the things that kind of got brought up, and I'd like to ask you all, is are you hearing an influx of tickets being screened with no conflict when in reality there are utilities there? Okay,
Yes.
good. So I knew this was happening because before our meeting, I got a call out east, and he was just like, we've got all these tickets and they're all screened saying no conflict. So then they put in the 3-hour. Well, as we spoke in the meeting, guess what? So if you're locating all of a sudden, this is the first time you're seeing this ticket. And boom, you got 3 hours to do it, right? And so we're trying to determine, is there a correlation, with a lot of noise in the system? And I personally think there is. So we're going to kind of dive into a little bit of that. But if you're seeing particular members, please let Parrish know or myself. That way I know, without having to dig in deep, I can just start going directly to that source and see, is there an issue with the screening process?
I have a lot of problems with Stake Center.
Okay.
For whatever reason, and it's been different utilities. It's been Segra. It's been multiple things, but there's a guy named Mike Hall. He's been really helpful with that, but it seems to be the case, and it's in Charlotte a lot.
Okay.
It's been in Charlotte a whole bunch.
Okay.
But it needs to make it to my call, it seems like, before it starts to get solved though.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's an escalation.
Yeah.
How was the main ticket getting scrubbed, but 3 hours getting through? Wouldn't the 3 hour be scrubbed as well?
No.
Why?
Because that's all they do is they initially screen the original ticket. And if it's deemed that there's no conflict, then anything after that goes directly to the contract locate company. That's the way.
They don't scrub the 3 hours.
No, that's the way that's the way it's set up internally in the system. So I guess, when you put your hat on as a locator, the screening process is great if it works, but then if it comes to you and now all of a sudden you're used to having 3 days and now you only have 3 hours.
Is that a screening process problem from our perspective? Because it seemed like from our perspective, these were tickets that were making it to the utility locate companies, but were being deemed by them to be no conflict or just being marked as no conflict.
They weren't
And
making it.
then-
Stake Center was not seeing.
So they were not seeing
They
it. So
were-
it was a screening.
It was a screening problem, yes.
Yes. So, and that's my understanding how all of it works. It's going directly to the member screening, and I'll just use charters, for instance. Theirs are going to Colorado. I think it's Colorado, or maybe that's AT&T's. No, it's Colorado. So it's going to Colorado. Those folks are screening the ticket, no conflict, boom. There's your positive response. Contractor gets out. Nope. I see evidence of facilities. They're putting in a 3 hour. Then that in turn is going to be transmitted back to the locator. So if we're seeing, we're trying to drill it down. Okay, is it area specific? So that way we can say, okay, really you need to check your maps. And then I can reach out to our member services, kind of give them a heads up. Hey, we're seeing this. That's one issue that I think is, definitely adding noise into the system. I'm getting more and more calls and saying, so let me take it to the next step further. I've done that. I put in a 3 hour. 3 hour wasn't responded to on time. What do I do? It's a judgment call. You got to decide. The law is not very clear on what you do. So that's where you have to make that judgment call. Do I let my folks go ahead and dig?
With care.
With care, absolutely. Prudent. I said, so, I tell people all the time, document, and look at the facility that you may be digging around. Do you want to dig around a gas line that's high pressure? No, I don't want to be responsible for somebody. So, once again, as I stated to the contractor, you guys have to make that decision. We cannot interpret any of that. And then you encourage them to come to these UCCs so they get to know all you folks. So that's kind of how we direct it. But certainly if, we're seeing more and more, especially in what they are these fiber contractors, these blind boring folks. They're needing to get it in the ground because they're getting someone saying, hey, you got 5 days.
Footage.
No, that's exaggerating. You have 10 days to get it marked, get it in the ground, boom, go on. So sorry, I don't mean to be talking loud, but it's, it is getting bad. It's getting bad and it's going to get worse.
You said there's no conflict, saying you're hearing about it all over the state.
I'm just
With different
getting it,
members?
they're just random, like this one was out east, and then I've heard it in Charlotte. I've heard it over in the western part of the state. Over in Catawba County, I'm even getting calls of, I know they're here in the area. I see them. I see their pedestals. They're all around. They're not showing up on the ticket. So just for your FYI, they have to call into the center, tell them to add, and I'll just use a Spectrum, add Spectrum to the ticket. And when that happens, on the back end internally for 811, that ticket is then directed into our member services. And then they reach out to Spectrum or Charter and say, hey, we've got, facilities in this area. You're not showing up on the maps. What's going on? So a good scenario is you're required at least once a year annually to update your maps. We prefer to update them as often as possible. But each time you update it, that update overrides the one before. And it keeps overriding. So if you left something off or something got taken off, I think that's one of the issues that we're seeing.
So, and from my experience, I'm piecing it back together. So I remember RDU Durham primarily, we were having an issue with Segra a little while back. Do you remember that?
I 100% remember.
In Charlotte, it was with Verizon, but our issue is that they would be on the ticket. Segra would be on the ticket, Verizon would be on the ticket, but the problem is it'd be like Verizon was pre-screening the tickets before they went to Stake Center.
Right.
So within 20 minutes of the ticket, someone sitting at a computer is cross-referencing their prints to the ticket that's called in, saying no conflict.
And that's what screening does.
Yeah, and yeah, it's been a mess for sure.
But what you were saying, so we have an issue with DOT not being marked and not being on tickets, also an APEX, right? So is that a situation where the right thing to do, because what we did was reach out to DOT. Should we have also been reaching out to
Was
811
DOT
to say,
listed on the ticket?
no?
Okay, yes. you
Is that a
should have.
situation where we should call
Yes.
here and say, can they get added to the ticket? Because we didn't, we just did our due
Yes.
diligence. We reached out and said, you're not on this ticket, but you're clearly here. And they said, yeah, we don't have to because we're DOT. And then.
Well, yeah, they do. They
I
do have
know,
to.
but that was a
yeah.
separate fight.
Yeah.
But additionally, we should have called you and
Yes,
said, please add them to the ticket because they're here.
correct.
We did not do that, I don't think. Did we take that?
Yeah,
step?
it needs,
I don't
if they're
know.
in the area and they're not showing on the ticket, you call back, you ask them to be added. And then, as I stated, what will happen is in the background, it gets coded a little different. And then it gets shot off over to our member services for them to verify with the member, do you have facilities in this area? If you do, we need you to update the maps and send them to us. So we're doing a lot of, legwork on our end.
I just don't even think we thought about or really knew that was a step when this happened.
And
We
in
just
fact, the
reached
law
out right now.
requires, if you guys are out there, and I just say as locators, if you guys are out there in the field and you see something that's not correct or whatever, the law requires that you let the member know whom you're locating for. So, there needs to be obviously good communication there, because at the end of the day, the biggest challenge is mapping. It's, got to get it updated, how far down the road is it getting updated? And then how does that correlate to other issues? Design survey tickets. When someone's just designing and they're requesting maps, if you haven't updated those maps, then what you're getting is old maps, and it's not reflecting any of the facilities. So it is one thing affects the other. So it all boils back down to the biggest thing I think we need to do is update our maps. For sure.
So these centers that are scrubbing the ticket before it goes to the locators, they're working off of bad maps as well?
They could be.
Well, they wouldn't be
I mean,
scrubbing the
they're
ticket if they
only-
had an up-to-date map. Yeah, it's in the ground. We'll send somebody out there.
But then there's got to be a policy, okay, let me ask you guys, Piedmont, you guys put new facilities in the ground. How quick does them maps get updated?
We do, on distribution and construction now, we use a company called Locust View, so we're GPSing as we put them in.
Okay.
We got a 24-hour as-built turnaround time internally, once we gas up a new main, so that everybody in the district knows in case something happens.
And the locators that work for them.
And the locators.
So that's
The
step
GIS
one.
group,
Right, okay.
They, once we send that 24-hour notice, the GIS group will go and make that proposed line active.
Okay,
Or temporary active or something.
Yeah.
It's like an intermediate stage from proposed to existing.
right.
That way it's picked up in our GIS, which,
So
I
at
don't know how
what
often-
point does that get updated to NC 811?
I don't know what
That's
the
key.
frequency on GIS sending y'all updated. maps
Yeah.
are.
That's the gap right there. And so that was part of what we talked about, are some of the issues that we're dealing with really technological issues that is adding to late locates? Is it technology? You know, by the
But I
time
would
one
imagine-
communicates with the other and then it gets back, is it?
I would imagine that it's, we have to be doing it pretty frequently. Because all our new neighborhoods going in, we're putting them in daily.
Well,
I don't know if it's quarterly, if it was quarterly, I would think that would be. really
But
good.
the locators know the gas lines are out.
The
Your
locator,
locator, but it's not showing up on our system.
if you don't go into the.
So we don't let anybody know.
but
And
if,
add that, it's not
yeah,
going
if
to-
on your map, you've added your buffer, and then we're gonna add that 250-foot buffer to that, we may grab it.
To just touch the end of a gas line.
But if it's not, if it's not there and we don't have it there, then we're not gonna transmit it out to somebody we don't have in that. So that's why I say, if you see something out in the field that's not showing up on a ticket or whatever, reach out to parish or really go directly to member services. But if I realize that's another step, get up with parish and parish can say, give me the ticket number, and then he's gonna direct it over to member services for them to review it for you. So that'll cut.
Do we know how fast any of them are doing it or how often they are doing it?
I mean, we've got some that update consistently.
I thought you would know that, man, like. I was
No,
gonna ask you
that
how
member
from
services,
Fremont.
no, I mean, that's a good question, because I did reach out to Leslie not too long ago about charter. And, I'm wanting to think, she told me that it was only like once every 6 months or something. But then we had an issue with them where they left stuff off. When they updated their maps to us, they had omitted prior stuff. So we found out, issues like that. And it took a while to get that resolved because they deal with people in Colorado. That's where all of their stuff comes out of. But I mean, so just to let you know, that's the kind of stuff that's going on out there.
In some of the past meetings, if you're having a utility put in and then before it gets gassed up or mapped or whatever, who's going back and locating that facility? So it came up with natural gas, it came up with water and sewer, especially new subdivisions, right? Contractor coming in there, and sometimes the contractor buys material, sometimes the material is given to them. Contractor does a job and then leaves to go do another job. Prior to it being turned over to the owner, whether it's a municipality or if it's a private utility, who's locating it in between? Is it the contractor to put it in supposed to keep up with it?
Supposed to be the
Is it the
contractor.
subdivision owner who's supposed to keep up with it?
Well,
That's the big question right now.
For Piedmont, it's gonna be the contractor's responsibility until it's gassed up.
What about when Hyper Network puts it in? Are you guys responsible till you turn it over to the owner?
Yeah, and we turn on our polygons and things and then.
I think that was the general
once
consensus.
Our customer accepts.
That's an argument with these places like Salmon and stuff like that, but they don't want to
Yeah.
locate because they don't want to be responsible for it.
And it really, I guess, just depends on the contract. I mean, I always go back to Google, and I know it's been a long time since Google came in, but before Google put stuff in the ground in Charlotte, they provided us a polygon of where they were gonna go. So though the facility may not have been in the ground, at least we knew where they were gonna go. They were getting a ticket, and if it was there, it would get located. If it wasn't,
So they just push that responsibility down to the contractors. I mean,
Now-
we do that now.
Gotcha.
We
Okay.
pre-register
Same
the
thing.
plant.
Okay.
As
Okay,
it's just not
so
in
that's
there.
the way their process has changed.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Well, how are you getting a ticket to know to go locate it?
So, I'm in charge of the polygon maintenance system, so I still stagger it, but we have what's called street sheets to see where our crews are working, so we'll have my maps or
Well,
prints.
Are you asking like how we get? the
How do you
tickets?
receive the locate request?
So if somebody calls in an 811 ticket, how do you know that they called in is the question, right?
They come to our email and then we manually enter them into our internal system called.
How do you get them the email though? So if I call in,
Yeah, we're registered through 811.
okay, so you're temporary,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
They have a member code.
okay. All right, cool. That's my question.
Don't you have to have facilities mapped with y'all to get the notification, like? it
That's what
pops
they
up in
did.
member code?
Right, that's what
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only way to become a member is to, provide us your maps.
I know, but that's what we were just talking about, like how often it gets updated. So if you, let's say you run.
We're talking about before the owner takes ownership of it.
It can be daily, it can be quarterly, it's
I
up
do
to
it
the
about week,
member.
I do it pretty much weekly.
Weekly.
Sometimes
Okay.
twice a week, depending.
Our policy requires annually, at least once. So at the beginning of the year, we send out letters to all the members. Hey, we need you to update your database. We need to update the contacts. Who's your field contact? Who's your database contact? And so if you're listed as a database contact and someone calls and says, well, the contact on here for the damage notification, if something gets damaged, is not right. I need to change it. Nope. We will not let anybody make any changes other than the database contact. So, and unfortunately, sometimes the database contact is kind of clueless, like, huh, what do I do?
Not ours.
But I'm saying in general, it's not, you work with maps and GIS and all this stuff, so you wouldn't think that would be part of your responsibility, but that's, we just don't let anybody come in and make changes unless that one direct database contact approves it. So,
There's a fiber, there's a Duke University fiber, and it was a nightmare trying to get a hold of them. And finally, I found a phone number. They told me to call Duke University Police. I was like, okay. So I called Duke University Police, and it's this long, strung out ordeal. I talked to like 5 or 6 different people, and finally got someone to go locate that fiber on campus.
They have a private line locator that does their stuff, don't they?
Well,
They
it's
do.
very hard to find.
He's very hard to get a hold of. And he's one of the situations where you go on and remote ticket entry and get that phone number. It's inaccurate, but it's what it is.
So do you go to the damage notification to look? Remember, your app is such a wealth of knowledge. I go to the app a lot. Say if you're wanting to know who's in the area, the easiest thing I can tell you is to go to the app and go under damage contact info, and you pick a county. I don't know, I'm just going to put in Guilford. Okay, so, and this will give you all the damage contact people, but also what it tells me is these are all the members in that county.
Mhm.
And if they don't show up on here, then they're not a member yet. And then that clues us in, hey, we need to be talking to them. But you can utilize this one little resource to find out a lot of information. And if on the ticket, it says, here's the phone number, and it's a USIC 1-800 phone number, I'm like, well, that ain't gonna ever help. I always go to that damage contact link on here, and I call these people. Because 10 times to 1, they're the ones that are locating for them. So, except in situations like that. But a lot of times these smaller entities, their damage contacts are also their locators. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Sorry, I didn't mean hijack your meetings.
I'm not, I wasn't going to turn it over to them.
Well, I did turn it over to you.
We're a team.
All right, so officially I'm turning this over. to you.
Hey, all the meetings on this page have this taken place. The last one was July the 26th, which was today, 11 a.m. And she gave you the overview of not only the board meeting, which took place the 21st, but the LRPC.
These paradigm meetings, the folks that are participating are William,
They're not doing it?
Buckeye, and I think, Rocky Mount.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know Piedmont used to be a big sponsor of this. They don't do it any longer, but they are throughout the state of North Carolina. If you would like to attend or have some of your folks to attend, they still do excavators, and then they still do first responders, police, fire, EMS. You can go check them out and see pipeline/awareness.com/meeting_schedule/. So check it out. 811 will participate in them again. There is a video of ours that they show. They give us a chance to get up and speak, and then if we have any swag left, we'll give it away at that time. So we actually set a table in front of there.
There is one here in Greensboro. I think I'm working that one, right?
I think,
Or you?
I'm not sure.
I'm
Probably not sure.
supposed to say no, that's you working that one.
All right,
Since Wayne passed his book.
So Scott stole some of my thunder earlier. I'm gonna take it back. Hot weather tip, so we know it's hot out there. I heard on the news today that the heat index is gonna be over 100 with the temperatures in the 90s. So if you are outside for an extended period of time, or if you're a frontline leader, please don't be in the air conditioned vehicle telling your people to hurry up with a cracked window. Be out there with them so you can actually feel what they're feeling. If you're getting dehydrated more down, chances are they probably are too.
Is that the crew leader you were?
No,
Hey,
no,
you
sir.
want to roll the window down?
He was hollering, he was calling.
He was using the Nextel back then.
Yeah.
Sure.
But there were, prior to me, check their window, throw their cigarette out and say, y'all hurry up out there. Roll the window back up. Don't be like that. Be out there working with your folks so you know if you're tired or exhausted or thirsty, chances are they are as well. Heat index again, if it's, keep an eye on it and just let your folks know. Plenty of cool drinking water, disposable cups. It was mentioned yesterday, if you can, try not to drink ice cold water, because when you drink it, your body has to heat up to process that cold water, and it makes your core temperature actually hotter. So not room temperature, maybe like in a room like this, but outside you want to drink cool water, not cold water, and obviously not hot water. You're not going to consume a lot of it. Just keep that in mind as you're drinking water. Actively encourage your workers to drink small amounts of water throughout the day. And I would even suggest that you ensure by watching them when you're taking your rest break, they drink water, because you know how adults are. They're kind of like kids. You drink water? Yep. And they didn't drink water. Next thing you know, they're a heat casualty. They passed out somewhere out there. Again, with the heat index, make sure you're establishing and enforce your work rest cycles. The hotter the temperature, the higher the heat index, the more you should take rest throughout your day. Set up a buddy system, so if Scott talks crazier than usual and I notice him, I said he might be becoming a heat casualty. I need to pull him offline, throw him in the air conditioned vehicle, make him drink some water. Maintain as a frontline leader, make sure you're communicating with your crew at all times as well, keeping a check on them. Encourage workers to wear sunscreen and long sleeve clothing. I know when I worked out on the crew, I had long sleeves all year long, 365. I didn't have any short sleeves. The sun doesn't play, and it will beat you down. Also, I heard a news story the other day that a kid, I think he was 11 or 12 years old, drank 6 bottles of water within an hour, and he got what they called, I believe it was dry drunk, where he couldn't hold his head up. So he was reaching hyperthermia, where he flushed all of the electrolytes out of his body. Yeah, and his dad said, I thought the kid was drunk. If you're just looking at him, you thought he was drinking. He couldn't hold his head up, and it was messing with his heartbeat as well. So just be aware of that as well.
Tim was a hard worker. He loved his family. Tim's job was a laborer in a construction company locally. He was sunburned, looked a little tired. He had his dinner, he laid on his bed. That's the last time his mother saw him. And I got up at 5, and at 5:30, I went outside. And when I got up through the kitchen, I saw a bowl of cereal. He was sitting on the steps putting his work shoes on. And I said, what are you doing? It's 5:30. He goes, I got to be in today at 6. I got to be in earlier. Just from what I knew yesterday, you need to eat your lunch today. You need to drink your water. And he said, okay, I got to get going. I said, okay, have a good day. That's the last time I saw him. I got that terrible call from the sheriff's department. You're not prepared.
Employers can prevent heat illness in the workplace with several straightforward actions. First, develop a heat illness prevention plan that outlines procedures, supplies, and equipment necessary to protect workers from heat exposure. Provide training to managers and workers on the signs and symptoms of heat illness. Nearly 3 out of 4 heat-related fatalities happen during the first week of work. Employers need to make sure that new and returning workers acclimatize or build tolerance to heat. It's important that workers drink water, take rest breaks in the shade or a cool area, and wear a hat and light-colored, loose-fitting, breathable clothing to prevent heat illness. Monitoring workers for signs of heat illness is important. Do verbal checks frequently with workers wearing face coverings or personal protective equipment, such as respirators. And finally, encourage workers to check on each other too. By taking these actions, employers can keep their workers safe and, importantly, prevent fatalities from heat illness, like what happened to Tim Barber.
So this video reinforces the previous slide, right? Body checks, more or less the acclimatization. Eat your meals too, right? Don't skip a meal. You absorb a lot of water off of your meal that you eat. And I know I'm not going to steal your thunder. I did it yesterday, but you were saying something at the Randolph UCC about hiring folks in the winter as opposed to the summer.
Yeah, so that was something that we used to run into a lot when I was out in the field working as a crew leader. We hired new people. And if you hire somebody in the wintertime and they come in slowly to the spring, they became more acclimated. And it worked out a lot better for them. But when we brought somebody in new during the midsummer that never had worked outside before or worked inside all the time, it was quick to watch them deteriorate out in the field. And it was a constant sending them to a shade tree, drink your water, go sit in the truck and things of that nature. So being out there in it before it gets to this point right here over time helps you acclimate yourself a lot easier to that.
Makes sense. So that's who you were talking about yesterday, Parrish.
Yeah, Scott, I told his thunder. Yeah.
You weren't there, so he had to tell the story. For
Well,
you, but-
I let Parrish use my stuff.
I didn't quote the author, but yeah, I stole his stuff.
It's not often that I get quoted and I feel good about it.
That's a good point. I have not even thought about that.
Yeah, makes sense.
That is. And of course, there will be some OSHA standards coming out, so on this.
Yeah. Well, it's something that you notice after, 21 years out in the field, you start noticing stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the numbers. As always, I think the only person who hasn't seen these slides yet is Kevin and then Jeff online. This is across the state of North Carolina, and we're looking at June of 2022 versus last month. As you can see, there was a 1.2% decrease in the ticket volume. The ticket request year to date is just shy of 7%. Transmission for last month, 1.5, and then transmissions year to date, just shy of 6%. So even though it was down for the month of June, year to date, the numbers are up. So Guilford, you can see the 3-hour actually decreased 16.5%, which is outstanding news. The new tickets as well decreased. Let me get my little laser point going on. I'll have to work that when I can. The new tickets are 5.4% decrease overall for the month of June, and then the ticket updates 16.6% decrease. So decrease across the board except for the cancellations. June of 2022 is 75, and last month is 103. Average locates per day for Guilford, 434. Year to date for Guilford, you can see the 3-hour actually increased, even though it was down last month. Year to date tickets are actually down 5.6%, 34,032, and then the update 3.1% decrease for the year, which is great. We like that trend. The average locate per day for Guilford, year to date 456. So if we look at the 9,540 that were called in for Guilford, you can see Brown Summit made the lists, Greensboro 5,705, High Point 1,360, and I'm kind of disappointed that my High Point folks didn't show up. Joe, who used to be the supervisor for City of Water, is now the superintendent. In speaking with him, he's super busy. So I understand that. He's got his hands full. McLeansville, Stokesville, Summerfield, Witsit, all made the list. All right. So these are the damages that now not only reported to 811, but were called into the CGA via the dirt light report. You see Guilford County, as Ann alluded to earlier, the numbers are up 49.
Mecklenburg still winning though.
No, Wake beat them this month. Mecklenburg only had 159. So I think they had people didn't call in the damages. That's the only thing I come up with. That's a big difference. 60 something.
But Guilford was third for the state. And we know none of this stuff is accurate.
Right, it's just a snapshot. Yeah, just
But it's a good-
barely edged out Durham. No, yeah, barely edged out Durham. 811 day, right the corner. 2 times a year we get to our horn. 811 day is one of them. Does anybody
I thought it
know?
was 365.
No, we really get to toot our horn. We're all the time tooting our horn. Yeah, April safety month. So if you are putting a presentation together, safety message for your team or your going out to the general public, if you'll go to this website, nc811.org/811 day, you can go and grab all kind of high-speed material that Mr. Steve Moore has put on there for you to use for your presentation to help spread the 811 message. And we're not sure who that is digging in the dirt. All right, there's a good-looking education team led by Miss Ann Rushing over here to my left. Your center. All right. And as always, a presentation of this UCC, along with the video and the sign-in roster, hopefully if I got the sign-in, will be uploaded to the ncucc.org for your viewing pleasure. As always, you can grab that URL and send it to somebody. You have subcontractors. Hey, here's some of the team players. Here's what we talked about in July. We're inviting you to the August meeting. Let them watch the video and see our antics. That will be outstanding. So, barring any questions or comments, sir, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Parrish. That was wonderful. Always appreciate your business.
My pleasure.
That being said, that's anybody have anything else they want to discuss around the room? It's an open table.
I think we've talked enough unless anybody has any questions for us.
We'll change.
Do I have some with Yes.
We'll change those.
Well, well, I just noticed, like I know that they're putting fiber in where I'm in Alamance County, that's where I live at. I noticed that there was a lot more hits in Alamance County.
I never see you in my Alamance, Chatham, Orange UCC though, so I'm not sure.
Yes, I've been there.
AT&T, one of the updates at the LRPC mentioned that they were doing a big fiber job on the outskirts. I think Alamance, Guilford, Forsyth, you know, kind of High Point, Mebane, all of that. But that's a, yeah, AT&T type stuff.
Yeah, they're headed for the high concentration areas right now. I haven't seen them come out my way yet.
Then, S&N, they're putting in Lumos in Burlington.
Is that, yeah, because they were here maybe 3 meetings ago to let us know that they were in town.
Yeah, that was mentioned too. Lumos, they were doing about 10 million feet of line down in South Carolina, but up in North Carolina, multi-million feet of fiber.
Yeah, they had a
So
real bad sewer hit. I don't know if you guys caught wind of that sewer hit, but it was nasty. My brother was on.
No
site.
pun intended.
No pun intended. Unintended. Got wind of it. It was a rough one.
where was it at?
It was in Burlington. I don't know the street, but he was showing me, he has some video and it was gross. It was bad.
So they are also, because I was like, okay, Lumos, it became Lumos from North State and then Segra, right? Is there somebody else involved in that too? It's North State,
Like the contractor.
Yeah,
just those two?
to my knowledge,
Okay.
yeah.
And State Center's doing the locating for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Level 3 too, wasn't it? For the level 3 too.
The next meeting is going to be August the 23rd. As a reminder, I have my Northwest Triad UCC, which covers 3 counties, Forsyth, Stokes, Davie. And it's going to be held at Piedmont Natural Gas in Winston-Salem. Thank you for hosting that. We have it in Moxville the first 6 months. The last 6 months, it transitions over to Piedmont Gas to give folks a chance to attend these. And then that afternoon at 1:30 is going to be the Guilford County UCC, and that will be here again because Piedmont Gas and Greensboro are demoing their building on Green Gate Road. Yep.
Out there with sledgehammer.
Internally, not the whole building.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
we're
was gonna say, don't they
gutting
have a,
it, yeah. Kevin lives in the trailer park. I live in my car.
Real nice trailer out back.
Kevin's got a nice trailer.
you got
I'm
a
living in my
construction
car.
trailer? Is it like a porta-john or something?
It's about the size of one.
You need my husband to build you a tree stand that's like a condo.